Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer!
All
Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things.
All right. Welcome back to Boring Reviews. Nick here.
Jodi there.
And we are checking out a video, different type of video today. I don't know a lot about it, but this was a request from a really good friend of both channels, Darshan. I believe Darshan, he's from Australia, but he might also be from India who lives in Australia. Let me know if I'm wrong about that in the comment section below. Let me know if I've learned correctly. And this is a video that he shared with me on Instagram. And I said, hey, this would be a great video for Jodi and I to check out. Jodi, what are we checking out today?
Why there's a CIA base in the center of Australia.
Now, CIA, unless Australia calls their, intelligence unit CIA as well, that would suggest that our country has a CIA base there in their country.
Yes, that's how I take it.
That's how she took it. That's how it was brought in. And this is interesting because I don't know anything about it. And I love the educational videos, if you will, because it just gives us a different change of pace from the usual stuff that we react to, that we love to react to, but it's good to switch it up a little bit. So if you like more videos like this, like recently we've done like the 20 things that are done in America that's not done anywhere else. We were checking out the Norway videos, this or that. If you like these different videos, let us know, comment below, and give us suggestions for other videos that you think might be interesting for us to check out. This is a very new video. I think it just came out a week ago, so we're excited to check this out. If you're excited for anything, or if you like what you see here, don't forget to
give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and if you really love us, hit that notification bell so you can be aware of our next upload of videos.
Sounds like a cookie right there. All right, so let's go ahead and check this out. Australia. Every time I learn about it, makes me want to go visit there more and more. Just to listen to people speak, for crying out loud.
Australia is a fascinating continent. As the driest continent in the world apart from Antarctica, it's no surprise that Australia is home to the second largest desert of the inhabited Earth's continents, remaining
It's crazy. It's the second driest, but it's surrounded by water.
In scale and scope. The Great Australian Desert spans more than a third of the continent and is larger in size than the entirety of
Now, is the desert what they call the bush, or is that a different part of Australia?
Australia itself, despite being the 6th largest country in the world in terms of land, is only the 53rd largest in terms of people, with a modest population of less than 26 million citizens. We're around the same size as North Korea, but within this vast, inhospitable, and empty desert, at the precise geographic center of the Australian continent, exists a surprising and relatively unknown secret.
Like how it's all lit up in the middle. That's pretty cool.
Geopolitical importance. One of the largest overseas military bases of the United States of America, operated by the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Administration, and the National Reconnaissance Office with a full 800 combined personnel.
Jeez.
The base is located nearby to the small Australian town of Alice Springs. Population just 26,000 or so people. But besides for that, there is no larger town that exists anywhere nearby to this base, within a zone of about 700,000 square kilometers, roughly equivalent in area to the US state of Texas. So to say that this American intelligence base, with hundreds of American intelligence officers operating within the dead center of Australia, is a remote location would be an incredible understatement. From the small Australian town of Alice Springs, if you take a short drive just 10 minutes or so to the southwest, you'll quickly run into various threatening signs like this one warning you to turn your car around and proceed no further.
Turn around now.
Or else face some vague consequences. Just beyond these signs is, of course, the top secret joint intelligence base of Pine Gap, run by both the American and Australian governments. And unless you've watched the Netflix series about this base going under the same name, you've probably never even heard of this place, or knew that such an important American operation existed in the middle of the Australian outback.
It's almost like Stranger Things-esque.
There's a more official codename of Project Rainfall. It has a very long and mysterious history here, going back decades into the past. You see, as the global Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union intensified during the 1960s, both nations began sending up satellites into space. With the launching of the earliest intelligence-gathering satellites, there was a recognition that real-time command and control over these platforms were necessary, and data collection to monitor geopolitical adversaries from afar was required. An American base to operate these American intelligence and spy satellites operating over the planet's eastern hemisphere could have theoretically been constructed anywhere, but the precise geographic center of the Australian continent was chosen for a number of strategically important factors. First, the sheer isolation of such a base deep within the continental interior of Australia,
Straight
more
center.
than 900 kilometers away from the nearest coastline, ensured that any potential spy ships from foreign nations passing around would be incapable of intercepting any of the signals coming down to the base from the satellites. Second, the base would be located deep within Australia, a country who was very friendly and allied towards the United States, and far away from any major Australian population centers around the coasts. And third, and perhaps most importantly, the location where the station would be built required the base of the floor and surrounding hills to not exceed 6 degrees, at the precise coordinates of Pine Gap's location in the center of Australia, at latitude 23.8 degrees south and longitude 133.74 degrees east. The ability would be gained to allow for high connectivity with satellites stationed as far as 60 degrees east and as far east as 153 degrees west, effectively covering the entirety of China, North Korea, the Indian subcontinent, and a significant portion of the
Russia.
then Soviet Union. In short,
Oh, look
it
at
was
you.
a very logically chosen location to construct a satellite intelligence base at. And as a result, by late 1966, the American and Australian governments signed a treaty calling for the creation of a US satellite surveillance base in Australia, which eventually became the modern Pine Gap, where operations began in 1970 with the relocation of hundreds of American families to the center of the outback. But there was another, larger intelligence alliance at work here that led to the creation of the base as well. Known as the Five Eyes, this is an intelligence alliance of the 5 major English-speaking democracies around the world of the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Created during the fires of the Second World War and expanded during the Cold War, this alliance structure enables all member states' intelligence agencies to easily cooperate with each other and share all of their worldwide data. As the Cold
Wow,
War
all of
continued
it?
to rage and new threats to the United States
Crazy.
emerged, like the People's Republic of China, Vietnam, and later on, Iraq and Afghanistan, Pine Gap continued to play a pivotal role in providing intelligence while dramatically growing in size to the point where, today, it boasts nearly 40 separate antennas across the site and has operated at least 9 geosynchronous
Jesus.
satellites owned by various US spy agencies over the past 45 years. Now, what makes these kinds of satellites uniquely well suited to the mission of intelligence gathering is that within a geosynchronous orbit, they travel in the same direction as the Earth's rotation, and therefore retain the exact same orbital period as that of the Earth's rotation, which effectively just means that they view the exact same portion of the Earth's surface at all times, as if they're sort of fixed in position on the map. This is in stark contrast to satellites that operate in lower Earth
Is it
orbits,
time?
which circle around the planet often multiple times
need
a
to
day,
anymore.
and move at a relative pace much faster. One of the unique advantages of a geosynchronous orbit for a spy satellite is that within this range, it can see an enormous amount of the Earth's surface all at once. In fact, if you were to go and do all the math and run the calculations for this, it turns out to be just a tad bit less than half of the
Jeez.
Earth's entire surface. This, of course, makes it incredibly easy for the spy satellite above to gather a vast amount of information from a very large area beneath it. And so
person that
today,
invented the
there are
satellite in
3
space.
of these types of
Genius.
geosynchronous spy satellites known to be operated from Pine Gap, all
I
at
can't
the
even
same
understand it.
line of latitude. Orion 5 above the western Indian Ocean, Orion 7 at the western tip of the Indonesian island of Sumatra, and Orion 3 just west of the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. Each of these 3 geosynchronous satellites sit at an altitude of about 36,000 kilometers above the Earth's surface, at these precise coordinates, and they each collect an incredibly wide range of electronic signals from the Earth's surface beneath them, like radio communications, radar emissions, microwave transmissions, missile telemetry, satellite and cell phone transmissions, and even more. These 3 satellites effectively grant American intelligence agencies, and therefore the intelligence of all the Five Eyes member states, an incredible degree of satellite coverage across every single area of modern U.S. critical strategic concern. From Western Africa, across the Middle East, Ukraine, Russia, Iran, Afghanistan, China, and North Korea. More than half of the Earth's surface outside of the polar regions. Once data from these regions is received by the satellites, their information is relayed via a signal back to the Pine Gap base in the center of Australia, and then disseminated from there towards the various intelligence agencies of the Five Eyes member states, like the American CIA and British MI6. And while controversial at times, the American intelligence capabilities that are granted by satellite sites around the world like Pine Gap are unmatched by any other intelligence agency in the world. And while most of what these satellites do is top secret and highly classified, we all know that launching those satellites, maintaining them up there, and gathering all that data from the surface below is an incredibly difficult feat to accomplish. And if you're anything like me, then you're probably curious how satellites like these actually work, and more to the point, how anything actually works. Understanding the difficult to understand is the very essence of STEM fields. But for a lot of us, myself included, STEM subjects like engineering and math and make the seemingly impossible possible have never come as easy to understand. But luckily, we can all get our own little dose of scientific learning every day now from Brilliant. Whether you're looking to learn something completely new or you're just trying to brush up on a few topics, the best way to learn anything is by actually doing the work yourself. And there's
Smart
no
way to
better
get an
place
ad
to
in there.
do that
Genius.
than on Brilliant.
Absolutely
You see,
genius.
Brilliant is an interactive STEM learning platform that helps you learn concepts by working through them in a visual, hands-on, and easy-to-comprehend way. And you can get started on any number of courses, from more basic concepts like the physics of the everyday.
So that, I never heard of Brilliant before, but that's a pretty cool site. You can learn about anything, you get hands-on, you can do all that kind of stuff. They're not a sponsor of our video, but we appreciate this channel's video that we just reacted to. So try to send us some love. Real Life Lore is a channel. A little bit of subscribing, can't talk. A little bit of likey. So yes, I've never really completely understood how satellites work. I understand at least a little bit of what the purpose is, not every purpose, but what the purpose is for them. And I'm listening to this, and they got the satellite up there, and it's getting information from, basically all of Asia, Africa, Europe. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, what would stop other nations from just blowing that satellite out of the space? But I would assume that would be considered an act of war. I say this all the time. I'm not very political, so I don't really educate myself on that kind of stuff. Let us know if I'm accurate in that assumption, which is why people just go ahead and just do that, because why would you cause that kind of trouble?
Well,
and plus, if you want to get rid of it, what are you trying to hide, right?
That's true. And I thought it was interesting. We have 3 satellites very close next to each other. They're just monitoring one area.
Well, it's a big part of the world. You got U.S. and Canada, they're allies or whatever. And you got South America, so I'm sure they got satellites, that or that. But it's very brilliant of America and Australia to let America come in and share that, and then share it with the other members of the Five Eyes. I didn't know it was called the Five Eyes. I didn't know any of that. I'm learning a whole bunch of stuff here, and that's my whole goal when we react to these videos. Hopefully you guys learned a whole lot of stuff too. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. That was very, very interesting. Pretty cool that Australia lets us have a base there. I knew that most of Australia wasn't inhabited, but I actually did not know that they had a little town in the middle of their desert.
Yeah.
So that was cool to learn that too. And it's actually a pretty good size. I mean, 26,000 is not a lot, but in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I hear that. I'm like, 26,000, that's a big number. But then when you really think, like, you, in relation to, like, a baseball stadium that can fit 50,000 people, and you see that stadium's half full, you think, oh, it's not a very big crowd today. That's their entire city's population, which is still better than, like, 800 people or something like that. But anyways, love learning about that. Allies with Australia, love that. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video. Let us know what else you want us to check out. And until next time.
Goodbye.